was to get rich. And another 50% of those same young adults said that another major life goal was to become famous. And we're constantly told to lean into work, to push harder and achieve more. We're given the impression that these are the things that we need to go after in order to have a good life. Pictures of entire lives, of the choices that people make and how those choices work out for them, those pictures are almost impossible to get. Most of what we know about human life, we know from asking people to remember the past. And as we know, hindsight is anything but 20/20. We forget vast amounts of what happens to us in life, and sometimes memory is downright creative. But what if we could watch entire lives as they are through time? What if we could...
What is he talking about?
Well, probably, I don't know, some visualization of memories.
A good idea. A wonderful idea, Georgie. But the topic is different. It's an instrument. He wants to study memories of people. For what?
Well, for researching, of course.
Oh, great job. They researched a lot. They asked a lot of young people. At the beginning, he told us about that. What did the research show among young population, young people like you are?
Well, that they wanted to get rich and famous.
Thank you. That's normal. Rich and famous. All of them want, not all, but 90% probably, he said. 90%, I heard that. Okay. And another thing, they tell us we have to work how?
Well, hard.
Hard. So we want to be famous and rich, and we have to work hard. Okay. Probably about my generation. If they did such research with my generation, probably the answer will be the same. I don't know. But look and hear what they are going, I mean scientists, they are going to try to find, to research.
Study people from the time that they were teenagers all the way into old age to see what really keeps people happy and healthy. We did that. The Harvard study of adult development may be the longest study of adult life that's ever been done. For 75 years, we've tracked the lives of 724 men.
Okay, so what did he do, this professor?
Well, they researched lives from beginning to the end.
Thank you. Great answer. By the way, he is professor from which university? You can see probably below the pictures. Harvard?
Harvard University, yeah.
Harvard University. I think it's number 1 or number 2 in America. I'm not sure. But it's very, very, very prestigious and very expensive university in America. Okay, good. So, listen more.
Year after year, asking about their work, their home lives, their health, and of course asking all along the way without knowing how their life stories were going to turn out. Studies like this are exceedingly rare. Almost all projects of this kind fall apart within a decade because too many people drop out of the study, or funding for the research dries up, or the researchers get distracted, or they die, and nobody moves the ball further down the field.
A lot of such kind of researchers were started, but very few of them, or probably none of them, came to the end. Why?
Well, because there are many difficulties, like people dropping out of the research, or funds going low, or research is dying.
Great. Do you agree with him here?
Well, yes.
Oh, yes, because, well, probably it's a great idea if we started researching something. I don't know, even a simple thing. Let's say a quality of water, and we did it all the time. And, for example, during 200 years. I don't think that we have such kind of information about quality of water for 200 years. What do you think?
Well, yeah, probably, yeah.
But it's simplest thing to find to research a quality of water. What you need a very simple experiment. But when you have to research humans life, different story. Listen more.
But through a combination of luck and the persistence of several generations of researchers, this study has survived. About 60 of our original 724 men are still alive, still participating in the study, most of them in their 90s. And
what did he tell us about these pictures in the screen?
I think those are the people whose lives got researched.
Thank you very much. How many are still alive?
Well, I think he said one.
No, he said more than one. Don't remember how many. First there were 300, but now there are a fewer of them. But what are their age?
Well, they are quite old now.
90s or more, he said, right? 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we are now beginning to study the more than 2,000 children of these men.
Oh my God. And so, how many children of those people who were at the beginning?
Well, a lot?
2,000.
Yeah. And I'm fourth director of the study.
Ah. And who is he?
He is the fourth director of the study.
Oh, yes. Where are the previous 3 directors of the study?
Well, probably dead.
Good. Probably dead.
Since 1938, we've tracked the lives of 2 groups of men. The first group started in the study when they were sophomores at Harvard College. They all finished college during World War II, and then most went off to serve in the war.
First group of...
Well, after they finished their college, most of them went to war.
Nice. Sophomore. Repeat, sophomore.
Sophomore?
It's a student of the first year or second year at university. Can you translate? Can you find Russian equivalent if you are first year?
Первокурсник?
Yes, but probably it could be translated in more in polite ways.
I don't know.
Ну, например, там желторотик какой-нибудь, такой вот. Good.
Okay.
Good.
And the second group that we've followed was a group of boys from Boston's poorest neighborhoods. Boys who were chosen for the study specifically because they were from some of the most troubled and disadvantaged families in the Boston of the 1930s.
Okay, and second group of children, who were they?
Well, they were from poor neighborhoods.
Good job. Poor neighbor. So, first group was quite rich people, right?
Well, yeah, they went to Harvard.
Oh, yes. In 1930s they went to Harvard. But these boys and girls in the picture, they didn't even have cold or hot running water, right?
Yeah.
Probably no toilet at home, I think. No toilet at home at all. Okay.
Most lived in tenements, many without hot and cold running water. When they entered the study, all of these teenagers were interviewed, they were given medical exams. We went to their homes and we interviewed their parents. And then these teenagers grew up into adults who entered all walks of life. They became factory workers and lawyers and bricklayers and doctors. One president of the United States.
Oh, I didn't. It's so strange. What happened to these people? To these children?
Well, they grew up, and one of them somehow got to be a president.
Crazy. That's crazy. Other jobs they took?
Well, all kinds of jobs.
Good.
He just listed some.
Good. Lawyers, doctors, bricklayers. Repeat. Bricklayers.
Bricklayers.
Translate. Brick.
Ну, прокладчики.
Прокладчики, кирпичники, каменщики.
Ну да.
Good.
Не, каменщик это другой.
Brick, это же камень. Brick.
Брик это кирпич. Каменщик это мейсон.
Thank you, Georgie. Good. Ну, где-то то же самое примерно, да? Ну, как бы низкооплачиваемая работа.
Some developed alcoholism. A few developed schizophrenia. Some climbed the social ladder from the bottom all the way to the very top. And some made that journey in the opposite direction.
Schizophrenia. What is it about? Because some of them became ill with this awful illness, schizophrenia.
Well, it is a mental disease.
Thank you, Georgie. Is it curable or not?
Well, partially.
Thank you. Partially. Good. But probably at that time, no chance to be cured. Who knows?
The founders of this study would never in their wildest dreams have imagined that I would be standing here today, 75 years later, telling you that the study still continues. Every 2 years, our patient and dedicated research staff calls up our men and asks them if we can send them yet one more set of questions about their lives. Many of the inner city Boston men ask us, why do you keep wanting to study me? My life just isn't that interesting. The Harvard men never ask that question. To get the clearest picture of these lives, we don't just send them questionnaires. We interview them in their living rooms. We get their medical records from their doctors. We draw their blood. We scan their brains. We talk to their children. We videotape them talking with their wives about their deepest concerns. And when about a decade ago we finally asked the wives if they would join us as members of the study, many of the women said, you know, it's about time. So what have we learned? What are the lessons that come from the tens of thousands of pages of information that we've generated on these lives? Well, the lessons aren't about wealth or fame or working harder and harder. The clearest message that we get from this 75-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Period.
Georgie, please read the caption.
Well, good relationships keep us happier and healthier.
Period. Translate.
Ну, хорошие взаимоотношения позволяют нам быть счастливее и здоровее. Точка.
Good translation, Georgie. So, do you agree with him? Probably we will watch more, but not today, I'm afraid. Do you agree with him, first of all, that they could give some conclusion from these pages and pages and pages and pages of research? Is it possible, do you think?
Well, I think yes.
So you believe what he says?
Well, why not? I don't know. It seems logical.
It seems logical. So from his conclusion, we can say that people live longer, live happier, live healthier, even if they are not famous and even if they are not rich. Am I right?
Yeah.
And on the contrary, people who are rich, because some of them became a president, not a poor at all person, and he said some of them climbed very high on a social ladder, so probably millionaires or billionaires, still they live shorter and not so happy as other people who has relationships.
Well, yeah, probably.
Okay, so I still don't believe much to his words. Okay, do you have any doubts in his words?
Well, of course, this was quite a brief video, so I don't know to say more. You have to watch something
Okay,
more complete.
let's watch a little more.
We've learned 3 big lessons about relationships. The first is that social connections are really good for us and that loneliness kills. It turns out that people who are more socially connected to family, to friends, to community are happier, they're physically healthier, and they live longer.
It's interesting. Georgie, please repeat his words, in your words, of course. What did he say?
Well, he said that people who have good relationships, well, generally have better lives.
Good. Good. And what can you see in the picture? I
This
think
is
it's
a nice photo.
nice photo of a single family, I think, no?
No, this looks like,
Several families.
yeah, like people researched gathered.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a nice guess. These are people from the research, right? He's talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
Good guess. Thank you. Thank you.
Than people who are less well connected. And the experience of loneliness turns out to be toxic. People who are more isolated than they want to be from others find that they are less happy, their health declines earlier in midlife, their brain functioning declines sooner, and they live shorter lives than people who are not lonely. And the sad fact is that at any given time, more than 1 in 5 Americans will report that they're lonely. And we know that you can be lonely in a crowd.
Wow, it's a bad statistics. Georgie, correct me, please. 1 of 5 Americans says that he's lonely.
Yeah.
How could it be?
Well, I don't know. It's just I think it can be so due to I don't know social networks.
Ah. Okay, so it doesn't mean that he has a family or doesn't have a family. He says that he's lonely, not being a part of society.
Yeah, probably.
Good.
And you can be lonely in a marriage. So the second big lesson that we learned is that it's not just the number of friends you have, and it's not whether or not you're in a committed relationship, but it's the quality of your close relationships that matters.
How do you understand the quality? That what matters. Quality of relationships.
Well, the actual amount of interaction and how good it is.
Good answer. But talking in a simple language, what does it mean to you? Quality of relationships with your mom, dad, friends. What do you mean? Quality.
Oh, no argues, probably.
Oh, good. Or if it is an argue, probably someone should to understand you and take your view. What do you...
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay. On the other hand, Georgie, do you try to support quality of relationships with your family members and friends?
Well, of course.
Good. Very nice. Of course. Good. Close relationships. Please count how many people do you think you consider as a close people with whom you support close relationships. How many in fingers?
Well, maybe like 7 or something like that.
Okay, great. That's great.
Or more, I don't know.
Turns out that living in the midst of conflict is really bad for our health. High conflict marriages, for example, without much affection, turn out to be very bad for our health, perhaps worse than getting divorced. And living in the midst of good, warm relationships is protective. Once we had followed our men all the way into their 80s, we wanted to look back at them at midlife and to see if we could predict who was going to grow into a happy, healthy octogenarian and who wasn't. And when we gathered together everything we knew about them at age 50, it wasn't their middle-aged cholesterol levels that predicted how they were going to grow old. It was how satisfied they were in their relationships. The people who were the most satisfied in their relationships at age 50 were the healthiest at age 80.
Georgie, I didn't understand everything he said. Tell me your idea. How did you understand?
The idea is that those who were satisfied with their relationships during their 50s turned out to be the healthiest in their 80s.
Oh, okay. He mentioned something like cholesterol. It's some kind of gene or what? Correct me.
I have no idea.
About cholesterol?
Yeah. Well, probably something
inside your
in
blood.
Our bodies.
Yes. Yes, true. And we can check it, of course. Taking a test, you can find these chemical elements and predict, but he says it doesn't mean that if you have a good result, okay, good. Okay, fine.
Good, close relationships seem to buffer us from some of the slings and arrows of getting old. Our most happily partnered men and women reported in their 80s that on the days when they had more physical pain, their moods stayed just as happy. But the people who were in unhappy relationships, on the days when they reported more physical pain, it was magnified by more emotional pain.
Georgie, again, didn't quite catch what he said. How did you understand that?
I didn't hear much.
How I understand, please correct me. So, people with bad relationship, when they had a physical pain, this physical
probably it felt
multiplied.
Worse.
Yes, got worse. But those who had a nice relationship said that well, it's not the worst period in their lives. Okay, Georgie, please give me, how would you describe the lecturer? I mean, his specialization. What kind of professor he is at Harvard University? What does he teach at Harvard University?
I don't know, probably something related to social science, maybe.
Good. Social science, wonderful. Or maybe a psychiatry?
I don't think so. I don't really think they have such things in Harvard University. You have to go to a medical university if you want such education.
But Georgie, I'm not sure, to tell the truth, because yes, psychiatry it's a part of uh, uh, medical education. You're right, but okay, you will go to Harvard, Georgie. Please promise to tell me what faculties do they have there. Okay,
All right.
good. By the way, maybe psychologist. He's just not psychiatrist, psychologist.
Well, it looks like this is still a medical branch.
What about you, Georgie? To tell the truth, it's an interesting field about people. What would you like to study that?
Probably yes.
You mean psychology and maybe psychiatry?
Well, yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's absolutely not bad. Uh, you know, of course you know, and your mom knows, your dad knows. At my time, I'm older than your parents. We didn't have any psychologists at hospitals. We didn't have any psychologists at schools, and no one knew about this type of medical researchers. Why do we have so many psychiatrists and psychologists nowadays? Why?
Well, probably it just became more popular with people.
Good. Or
Mm,
do you think that uh, society turned tremendously and unfortunately not in a good way? Society
mm.
changed dramatically.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, it is true.
Okay. Strange. Juji, it's so strange. Why? Because, well, my friend, you asked me where would you like to live in socialism and in capitalism. I don't know, but uh, if we are talking about quality of life, uh, well, I have enough to eat, but I often wanted to eat in my childhood, and I wasn't hungry all the time, maybe, but I didn't have enough food in my childhood. Talking about all these things like clothes, all these things like computers, bikes. It is better now than at my uh, childhood, but it's strange. Quality of life is higher, but the society turned down. Why, Georgie? Explain. It's strange.
Well, probably this is connected. Well, the life quality goes up,
Okay.
and well, people lose their morals.
Oh, nice, nice. Georgie, look again. Strange question. The poorest continent on planet Earth is Africa, right? It's obvious.
Yeah.
the poorest. And when you start watching this National Geographic channel, when they show us these people in Africa in tribes, they're always absolutely happy. Explain why. They're absolutely happy. Look at their faces.
I don't know. I've never seen them being happy, to be honest.
Well, they dance a lot, they sing a lot, they go hunting. Their clothes are very poor, of course, but looking at their faces, Georgie, you can see a lot of smiles. You probably never see a smile if you go along the street in Pushkino or in Moscow or New York or in Tokyo or in London. Why?
Well, I don't think you won't. I think you will. To be honest, I don't quite agree.
Okay.
But, well, I get your idea that just poorer people have higher morals.
Oh, good. Good. Poor people have higher morals. Georgie, great job.